Okay guys, I'm going to show you how to do the next task, which is to make some dimension drawings from your signet ring. So we just finished making a ring, and now you want to make some scaled orthographic drawings. So a plan, elevation, and elevation, side view, those kinds of things. In your perspective view, set up a view that you would like of your object. So, nice camera angle. You maybe want to look down on it from above and so on. You can zoom yourself in and out, and then don't worry about the orthographic views. So the top, front, and side view, they will be drawn as is. So go up to the dimension tool, down to make 2D drawing. And it's going to ask you select the object that you want to make. You can pre-select this before you go into the command, and then it will skip that step. Right click, and the options that we're looking for is a first angle projection, which is the more standard one for Europe. If you're in America, you might see third angle projection. So we're going to go with first angle. We're going to have the object properties by the output layers, so that it doesn't keep our drawing blue because it's come from a layer that has been colored blue, and it will inherit whatever color the layer that it's on. And the other option that we want are these tangential edges, these tangent edges. Because our shape has these really curved forms to it, it's compound curves going in two different directions, we want Rhino to draw what that looks like, how it looks like almost like a silhouette from the shape in our perspective view. In this case, we don't want to see all of the hidden lines, so we don't want to see all of the internal structure. We just want to draw it as is. And yes, we would like it to make them as a group. So when I click OK, you'll see that in the command line up here, it's going to flick through between drawing each of these different viewports. So choose OK. And then you can see here, it's drawing each of those. And then when it's done, you'll see from the top view, all of your objects drawn. And then we'll just move this over to one side. Now, Rhino makes these as individual groups, which is really handy. So you can align these up and move them around much easier. In previous versions of Rhino, it would have made all 4 drawings as one group together. So it's really nice. You need to tidy up your drawings a little bit. So it knows where the edges of those surfaces were. So we have to fix that. And then maybe in places like here where those tangent edges are really close to each other, or this little piece here, Rhino is having a little bit of trouble distinguishing those. So tiny little bit of tidy up. Under the group menu, so over on your command bar on the left hand side, if I left click and hold down on this, you can see you have group and ungroup. The shortcuts are Control G to group and Control Shift G to ungroup if you're on a Windows PC, or Command G or Command Shift G if you're on a Mac. So just going to ungroup that, and then go in here and select each of these little pieces of line. So you can left click and drag. So as you know, again, when you drag a selection box, if you drag it left to right, only things that are fully inside of that object get selected. So you have to zoom yourself in and make sure you're not taking away anything that you don't want to. If you see a gap, just draw yourself in a little straight line to finish this. And another thing, might as well actually mention it here, you can probably see it, this one's blue and this one's black. That is because Rhino has made these really nice sorted layers for what it is you've done. So you can see it's made this 2D drawing layer, and then because we only wanted to draw what was visible, we have a visible sublayer and then tangents and curves sublayers below those. We'll tidy those up in a few moments and get rid of the bits that we don't want. So we're done with that. And then over onto the next one, Control Shift G again to ungroup. Go in and select all of the pieces that you don't want. So you could use your Shift key to add to this selection, or you can right click and drag over it. next one. So Control Shift G, delete these lines. So left click and drag over it. Drag. And just have a look up here just in case there's any other pieces. So group this one back together. Control G. Group this one back together. And group this back together. Control G. And this one ungroup. So group or Control Shift G. And then go in here and delete each of these little pieces or fragments that are causing the problems. And if you have some lines that need to be trimmed or cut, that's fine. Sometimes that happens as well. Just select them, use your ruler, and then cut them off. Here, go over here to see if there's another one. Sometimes they make them in strange symmetries. Some out to the left there. Some these. That. Good here. You can see it's out here and here. Select all of that, make that into a group. And then to tidy this up a little bit, let's take all of this and move this onto one of these layers. So this one called visible. So using the layer cake, change object layer and bring this onto one called visible. And we won't set that as a new layer. Just leave this as is. That means that we can now bin these two sublayers, and you shouldn't have any warning that anything is on those because they should be empty now. If they are, or you do get a warning, it means that you may have missed some little piece for these, in which case go onto each layer, turn off all of the others and use Control A to select everything, and then while you have the gumball on, it'll highlight where that object is, and there might be some microscopic little fragments or a piece like that. We're going to add in one layer below this. We're just going to call this one dims or dimensions, and you might want to add in just a couple of small dimensions for this. So maybe the size for the ring size, and then one or two dimensions for these. So up to dimension, and then we'll make this a diameter. Grab the section here, and you can see we're on the blue layer. So I'm just going to go down and make the check mark for the dimensions there, so we don't have to move this again, and just drop a dimension over to one side. So 12 mil away. This is a small object, so you want to have a little bit of space with your dimensions around it. And then maybe a linear dimension between the highest and the lowest point. So you just zoom in here and find that quadrant, and then you can bring that out to one side. You can modify these dimensions and the dimension styles for those. You go up to dimension and then go for your annotation styles. I'm not going to cover that in this video. That's a little bit more involved with the technicalities of making dimensions, not with the doing it in Rhino. Something else you might want to do is to take a copy of your perspective view. So again, hold down the Alt or Option key when you grab and move an object using the gumball. This will allow you to make a copy, and then once you've made your copy, you can scale this up. So we could use the scale tool, just grab it somewhere here, and this would be where you might make a nice colored in or shaded drawing inside of Illustrator with this. And if you're interested, let me know and I can show you how to do that. After you've made these, you want to take them out of Rhino. You want to bring these into another program. So just grab all of these, File, and then export selected, and then you would export that as an Adobe Illustrator document. So file, export selected. And it's going to ask you where you want to pop it. In my case, I'm just going to pop it onto my desktop, and I'll swap it from being a Rhino file in the drop-down menu and swap it over to Adobe Illustrator file and call it something like Signet Ring 2D drawings. Choose save. And now it's going to ask me a couple of really important options. So do I want it as I'm looking at it on my screen? No, I want to preserve the scale of my model. So 1 millimeter equals, it's a big trick question, 1 millimeter. And your color mode, if you're bringing this into Illustrator for coloring, you could go for a CMYK. If you're bringing it into Photoshop for coloring, you probably want to leave it as an RGB. I'll just leave it set as RGB and choose OK, and that will save me one Adobe Illustrator file on my desktop that I can then import and tidy up and manipulate and do whatever I need to. Okay, thank you.